Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we have some spoilers for Campaign 3 of Critical Role, and we have some spoilers for Downfall. So, if you aren't caught up with Critical Role Downfall or Campaign 3, I recommend clicking off and coming back later, because spoilers. Last warning, spoilers ahead. So, with the spoiler warning out of the way, we can now cast our minds back to the beginning of Downfall, or well, technically, to episode 98 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role, where Ludinus said he wanted to show the Bell's Hell something, and it would sort of show why his side of the argument, or what he's doing, is correct. And with only one episode left of Downfall, the question still remains, what is Ludinus trying to show the Bell's Hells? Luckily for us, I don't believe we have to wait very long to figure out exactly what Ludinus is trying to show the players. I think we've already seen it. I think episode 2 of Downfall showed us everything that Ludinus wants the Bell's Hells to see. Now he's just letting them see the entirety of the events play out. I think we have enough evidence or enough things that happened within episode 2 to sort of show what Ludinus may be thinking. Now, of course, there is still one more episode, so there could be more stuff that show up, but I truly believe that episode 2 showed us everything that we need to know for Ludinus' perspective to be seen as right in his eyes. Now, before I move on to the evidence that I think we have in episode 2, I kind of need to explain Ludinus' perspective a little bit. First and foremost, Ludinus hates the gods. The reason he hates the gods is, well, they caused a calamity. They caused years and years and years, centuries and centuries of conflict, which destroyed the greatest minds in the world, according to Ludinus. Ludinus believes truly that the people of Avalir, the mages of Avalir, and the mages of Aor were the most brilliant minds the world has ever seen, and well, the calamity just destroyed both of those things. All of the flying cities are gone because of the calamity, and technically that happened at the start. We know in the first century that Aor is the last floating city within the calamity. So, out of all the cities that were around in the first century, only one now remains. And Ludinus truly admires the minds of these people, these great archmages that were around in Avalir, that were around in Aor. He admires them and truly believes that they are brilliant and they were correct in everything that they were doing. This is a thing that Ludinus has sort of showed us throughout all of Campaign 3, that he believes this. One of the things that we know, like, he admires them for is he had notes back in Malaismere of Laren, one of the characters from the Calamity EXU episodes that we saw. We know that he admires these people greatly, and he admires what they were trying to do. We know that the people of Avalir despised gods. They believed that they were on the same footing because of all the inventions they made. Some of them literally hated the Raven Queen because she didn't give them and share the knowledge of becoming a god. They didn't share immortality. She didn't share godhood with the rest of the people of Avalir, and they despised her for it. And not to mention, do you guys remember like the whole ballroom scene when Purvan showed up and tried to give them a warning? Every single person there turned their nose up to him, including the player characters. Everyone in Avalir hated divinity and hate the gods because they believed that they should be standing on the same footing as everyone else. They believed that they were equal to the gods because of everything they created, and Ludinus believes the same thing. He believes that mortals can stand beside the gods, but hates the gods because they won't allow them to, because Aor was the clearest sign of them not being allowed to stand on the same footing. They have a weapon that can kill them, and we'll get into some more evidence in a minute, but I feel like I've painted a good picture of the perspective from Ludinus here. So with that out of the way, I can now present my two pieces of evidence that I think this is what he is trying to show within this episode. First and foremost, Ludinus is probably questioning why the gods destroyed a place in which their followers reside. Now, throughout all of episode 2, we saw multiple moments where the gods who are on this place that supposedly hate gods have come across people who are believers, followers, people who truly still want to worship these gods. There's a temple that they were in the beginning of the episode and the end of the first episode. It still remains, and we know that people were praying in it. An archmage was actually praying in it. We then see that there's an entire hospital of people who sort of believe in the Everlight. And when the Everlight and Aiden show up, it becomes very clear that these people still very much believe in the god that is the Everlight. And technically, they also believe in the Dawnfather. We also see two more instances of believers and followers when Salaha takes Amira to his little bar, his little speakeasy, and he transforms into his godly form. He becomes Corellin, and we see that the people here all admire him for what he's done, and they all worship him, and we can literally see in pure form people openly worshiping him. Openly is a strong term, but a large portion of the people in this room worship him, and yes, it is hidden away, but it is still open worship within this little room. Everyone here in this bar worshipped him, and he was able to transform and become himself. He was able to become Corellin. We also see that there aren't just, human or mortal or people who are followers, but we see that there are other living creatures who are believers and followers. As Asha, the wild mother, walks up to one of the only remaining trees in Aor and sees wildlife in the form of birds, they communicate with her, they worship her, they believe in her, they understand and love that this person in front of them is effectively their mother, the wild mother. And this tree even comes to life and opens a path for her. And we see that not only is there worshippers in mortal people, but there's also worshippers in animals and living trees and stuff like that. So Ludinus sees this and wonders why. Why would these gods destroy a place which has their followers? Why would a place that has people who believe in them be sacrificed because there's a weapon that could potentially kill some gods? Ludinus sees this as an ultimate act of selfishness. Why do the gods not sacrifice themselves to protect their followers? Why must they destroy the things that their followers have built and keep themselves alive? Why is self-preservation of the gods important when they're supposed to be the ones looking after the people? And the next piece of evidence that I argue is a little bit more important to Ludinus is one of the characters that Trist and Aiden met is an archmage named Cassidia. I believe that's how it was pronounced, Cassidia. But she is an archmage, someone who is a part of the Society of the Prime, someone who is working on the Factorum Malleus, the weapon that is able to kill the gods, and she has, and her group, have put in blocks and sort of security measures to make sure that this weapon can't be used just to kill the other gods. What they want to use it for, this society, is to kill the betrayer gods. They want to stand side by side with actual gods. And I think this is where Ludinus actually gets irked from. He believes that the great minds of Aor and Avalier and all the other floating cities were equals to the gods. He believes that their minds and their might should have allowed them to stand with them in this conflict. And he can see that there are people on Aor who do want to fight alongside the gods. Yes, there is a lot of people who don't like gods in Aor who don't like divinity, but there are people in high places who do still admire the gods, who do still worship. And they're trying to use this weapon to help them. And in Ludinus's mind, he sees this moment as people trying to help the gods, and the gods looking at it and saying, no, I'd rather these people who are causing mass death around the world, I'd rather my siblings still be alive. I'd rather they still be around. Again, another sign of selfishness from the gods in Ludinus's eyes. And I do think these are the two things that he is trying to show to the Bell's House. That the gods are selfish. That the gods don't care about a handful of people. Why kill an entire city to save a handful of gods? Why? This is what Ludinus's ultimate question likely is. Why did the gods not protect the people who follow them and end the war using this weapon? But instead, the gods seem to want to be content working together, keeping their siblings alive, and destroying the weapon, destroying the followers, destroying these cities, destroying the last bastions of the Age of Arcana, destroying the last bastion of excellency from mortals. And Ludinus despises this idea. Why not just leave? Once you saw that you were all causing problems and damage to the world, why not just leave? Even one of the Palantirs, one of the, I believe that's how you pronounce it, one of the angels that follow these gods, one of the Celestials, has decided to leave. And it's not just one. Many Celestials have decided to leave the ranks of the gods who have seemingly abandoned them to call a truce temporarily to destroy this weapon to protect themselves. They claim, why didn't you just leave? One of them literally talks to Salaha and Amira and says, why didn't you just leave when you saw you were doing damage to this place, when you were hurting people? Why didn't you just leave? Yeah, you guys are immortal and this is just a squabble. For us, this is a war that seems to never be ending. And the question again is asked by Ludinus. He sees that the people of Aeor are trying to help the prime deities. They're trying to help the good gods. And instead of the good gods and the prime deities killing their betrayer siblings, they elect to destroy Aeor. And I think this specifically is the thing that Ludinus is caught up on. So from a certain point of view, yes, Ludinus the left can be considered correct. However, there are other things that are important to remember here in this moment, like the greed of Aeor. We do remember that Aeor is very greedy, which is why they don't have this, mass knowledge already out there to be used by everybody around the world. Because if the humans are fighting against the gods or with the gods as is, why not make multiple of these weapons and, strike down the betrayer gods on your own? Instead, they kept it for themselves. And there's a reason they kept it for themselves. It's because, much like Avalere, a lot of people in Aeor hate the gods. And I think Ludinus is forgetting this part just a little bit. Because, yes, some of the gods have pointed out that it might be a good thing that they have this deterrent, but at the same time, how often are they going to use it? Are they going to just take out the betrayer gods, or are they eventually going to turn that weapon on the prime deities once the prime deities no longer have a purpose within the war? Yeah, sure, everything's nice and hunky-dory. Let's get rid of you people who might cause more issues for us later. Or, we don't want to be following people anymore. Let's aim this gun at these people without them knowing, take them out, blah, 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 right? There's a bunch of reasons why you wouldn't want these weapons to just be around. Destroying Aeor and destroying the weapon was a deterrent to keep people from using it against each other as much as using it against the gods. Because if Aeor were allowed to just have these weapons because they weren't sharing them, if Aeor was allowed to have these weapons, what could that do to other places? They could fly over top any city and blast it. They could fly over top any country, continent, whatever, blast it, and eventually take over if they really wanted to. And I believe this is why the gods are so worried about it. Not only can it kill them, which is a massive problem, but it can also harm the rest of the world. And the prime deities clearly care about the world. They clearly care about it. That's why they're fighting against the betrayer gods for the calamity. That's why they're doing this to protect themselves and to protect the world at the same time. They are doing something bad in this moment, which is destroying a handful of followers, to protect the greater good, which is the world of Exandria below. And I truly believe Ludinus is forgetting this when he is trying to show the Bell's Hells this, and I think the Bell's Hells are going to be able to see through it. Because while they have questioned the gods in the past, the entirety of the Isilra team already questioned the gods and their stance on everything, but I think they're going to be able to see through what Ludinus isn't seeing. I think Ludinus is looking past something and isn't seeing the whole picture. He's looking at a specific part of it, but I think the Bell's Hells are going to be able to, because they all have a bunch of different perspectives. Keep in mind, there's currently 8 members of the Bell's Hells. They're all going to have different unique perspectives on all of this. They're going to be able to look at this as an entire picture, unlike Ludinus. So while he could be right, he's not looking at the whole picture, and I do believe the Bell's Hells will not side with him no matter what. So there you have it. My perspective on this whole thing that Ludinus is trying to share with the Bell's Hells. Now, obviously, more information can come out in the next episode, but I think this was enough to sort of give us a definitive answer of what he was trying to show. Because this is a pretty clear showing. I was thinking, this isn't a good look for the gods right now. But they did have some compelling arguments, like I mentioned earlier. But again, you could easily see why someone who believes and loves Aeor and Avalere so much, and the other flying cities so much, why he could get this image twisted of the gods and what they were doing is completely and utterly wrong. I can easily see why he went down the path of this sort of train of thought. So, let me know what you think down below. Do you think Ludinus is right? Do you think he's wrong? And do you think the Bell's Hells are going to listen and hear him out afterwards? Or do you think they're just going to be like, fuck you, we're here to fight you, we will see you on the battlefield later? Let me know. I'm very, very curious as to what other people think. Do they think the Bell's Hells are going to, after 100 episodes of fighting this guy, going to switch teams? I honestly don't think so. That would be against the status quo, if you will. But I genuinely don't believe that they're going to be fighting alongside him. I think they've made their allies, they've made their bed, they've already made their choice because they don't really care about the gods that much, right? They're more worried about stopping Ludinus from getting his hands on anything too dangerous, including Predathos, and they're also looking to stop Predathos from being released. So, personally, I don't think that this is going to change anything for them. I think, honestly, it's going to bolster their resolve of, we should stop Ludinus, we should stop Predathos, and then move on with the rest of our lives. If we save the gods, we save the gods. If we don't, we don't. I honestly think that is the perspective of the Bell's Hells. So, yeah. Anyway, let me know what you think down below, and I will see you guys on Friday for the recap of the final part of Downfall. Until then, peace.